Hi, and welcome to Matt Holman Talks Mental Health, the podcast where I have the opportunity to talk mental health with amazing humans. For this episode, I'm so happy to introduce Stephen Finlay to this conversation. Hi, Stephen.
Good afternoon, good morning, Matthew. How are you?
Good. Yeah, I'm good for 4 a.m. This is amazing. You're in Australia, I'm in England. It's 4 a.m. here. You've got the pleasure of having a nice time with light. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's summer, so
And it's summer. Oh,
I'm in
you're
a
rubbing it
t-shirt.
in. You're
I'm
rubbing it
sitting
in.
outside in the beautiful alpine environment.
Yeah, all right. We
Yeah,
don't need to see that either. So
but it's all good, and I'm very happy. No, but I'm very happy to be talking to you. It's an honour and a privilege. So thank you for
oh
inviting
wow.
me.
Oh, you're more than welcome. And as I always do, just a very brief intro from me. I'll let you do your
Yeah,
proper introduction. Just to say, Stephen and I, we've worked together many years ago. Again, it's one of my travel industry contacts, colleagues, ex-colleagues. And yeah, probably we mostly saw each other at conferences because of the distance between our shores. But yeah, just a very interesting character. Got a great story behind him as well. Going to tell us all a little bit about his experience with mental health and sort of his journey through that as well. So welcome, Stephen. You can do your introduction, so I'll throw it over to you.
okay, thank you. So yes, my name's Stephen Finlay. I go by a few nicknames. I've been called Finbar by my Northern Irish soccer coach when I was a young lad. That one seemed to have stuck around family and friends. And I also go by Stevo at work. So I get that a lot. So I'm 52 years old. I live in Sydney, Australia, in the Northern Beaches, which is a very nice part of Sydney. And I'm very lucky to have grown up there and still live there. I'm happily married, 25 years this March, which is fantastic, to my wonderful wife, Kelly. And I have a beautiful daughter, Erin, who will be 22 years old this month, and a son, Julian, who turned 18 in October. So, we had one of each and decided that was it. Good, shut up shop. So that was good. And again, we've been really blessed. They've been great kids. They're best friends, which is really good. Erin's finished her degree already. She's done a music degree, so she's a budding artist and a music teacher. And Julian's just deciding what he's going to do, but he wants to sort of get into the film and television industry. So that's the family life. I've got I'm still working in travel, working for an Australian multinational TMC. I won't plug any names here, FCM. And
Wow.
and you know what? It's been an interesting year. It's been a challenging year for everyone in the travel game, that's for sure. There's been we've had to say a farewell from a work perspective to a lot of people and a lot of friends. A lot of people have gone through furloughs or stand downs or redundancies. Again, I'm fortunate to have sort of come through the other end. I'm back working full time, and things are luckily in our market starting to pick up, because being an island, we could shut our borders pretty quickly and handle things here. So so that's okay. In terms of a journey, I think it's a little bit similar to you, Matt. It's that you're, because of being 52, you do get a bit of hindsight with age, as they say.
Yeah.
And you sort of get to understand what's really important and maybe wasn't as important at the time as you thought. So growing up, it was very much a good household, loving parents. My father's a Vietnam veteran, so probably doesn't mean too much in the UK because it wasn't there. But people from the US and a couple of the other Commonwealth countries would probably have an understanding. So he was involved in a very big battle, I suppose you'd call it, in Vietnam for Australia, and so he's had his struggles since there. So that was something, again, as you get older, you look back on and say, okay, well, yeah, that's interesting what happened to him. He's a very smart fellow, so he kept things at bay for a long time, and then he sort of let things slip for a while, but he's okay now. He's hanging in there. He's my mum's still there, so that's good for good for her. They've been married a very, very long time. And so really, it was for me, it was always had good friends growing up. I've got two friends who I've known since I was 6 years old, who I'm still best friends with today. We all went to different schools, but we all played football together, and two of us still playing. One of them we talked into coming back from retirement, and then he tore his Achilles. So,
Oh, ouch.
that wasn't too good. Yeah. And yeah, so to really now just happy at work, and
Yeah.
things are going well. But yeah, there's been times where things have always been interesting, to say the least. So
Yeah.
that's a little bit about my story. So
Well, there we go. We're gonna dive in. We'll dive into
yeah,
some of that as well. And just to set the record here, I want to be clear. I'm not 52 yet. I'll be there
no,
in a
no,
few years' time, right? Just in case anybody was
yeah,
thinking
yeah,
I
yeah.
was, nothing against it, by the way, but yeah, I'm still in my early 20s, of course. But so
Yeah.
let's
You can
talk.
tell you were in sales, mate.
Oh, don't I? You know what? I haven't been in that for a long time, as you can
Uh,
tell. So just in terms of sort of the career path, and you said we sort of quite a lot of similarities in our stories in a
yeah,
lot of ways. Can you define that a little bit more?
yeah. When I was reading, and knowing you, and reading a little bit more about your story, I really resonated with that. I was probably early 30s, young
Hmm.
family, trying to get established, working very, very long hours.
Yeah.
So at this point, I was still working for Flight Centre Group, but in the retail division,
Yep.
which at that time I had about 65 staff. By the end of it, so I started off, started off as a consultant, walking off the street after being a ski bum for a few years, and sort of worked my way into a leadership role. And I had 65 people who were not directly reporting to me. I had about 14 team leaders who were looking after those guys.
Right.
Probably a fairly decent turnover, probably just under 100 million a year in sales. So it was definitely a decent sized business to be running within the big business.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of pressure for results, a lot of time away from the family. So there was a lot of weekend conferences, midweek activities, events, and it wasn't just conferences with your immediate team. It was wider business conferences, area conferences, country conferences, global
Yeah.
conferences. So it seemed I was away every sort of second week, and it took a toll on my health. I actually put on a fair chunk of weight. I stopped playing football for a few years and stopped sort of doing a lot of exercise. Probably drank more than I needed to. Well, I definitely
Yeah.
knew that. Not that I was ever a cranky drunk. I'm not that type of a
Yeah.
person. When I have a drink, it was just more, it just was just tiring, and it was starting to take a toll on my relationship, actually. So
Yeah.
my wife was also in the travel game and working for the same company. Not We didn't meet there, but we ended up working for the same company, and so she sort of knew, but she'd been out of it now, and she'd been on maternity leave a couple of times. So I was caught in that sort of that hamster wheel,
Yeah.
that roundabout. I've got to get to the next thing. I've actually got to get to the next promotion. I've got to do this. I've got to try and make more money or be more
Yeah.
successful. Because recognition's it's a huge thing and part of the culture of our business.
Yeah.
And when it's done right, it's really great and it motivates, but it can also lead people to sort of go down a rabbit hole that it's hard to
Yeah.
get out of. So the catalyst for me was when I sort of decided, I am actually pretty burnt out here.
Mm.
And the difference was I had all of those staff all on one floor. So it was like almost like a call center environment. So,
Yeah.
but divided into all these teams. So there was never a moment to yourself. There wasn't really any time to just do any reflecting or downtime. Always leading by example, always being positive, all of that sort of stuff. So all the
Yeah.
energy was going to work and probably not enough energy going into home. And at the end of that came when it was, I said, I need to leave. I need to do something else. And, again, just as things moved, that my immediate leader at the time probably didn't see we didn't agree where I wanted to go next. So, there wasn't really anything that was offered to me. So I ended up leaving that business. And I still remember it to this day. When I left, it took a couple of days, but I went, you know what? I will never, ever, ever let work get in the way of family and what is my priorities ever again. And
Right.
touch wood, to this
Yep.
day, I've kept that promise,
Yep.
and that's probably a real part of how I've managed to stay married for 25 years and happily married, and it doesn't feel like yesterday.
Yep.
Obviously, again, my amazing wife. But it was that mental shift for me to say, you know what, I'm never going to let that happen again, and I haven't, and I work hard, and I do what I need to do, but I go home on time.
Yep.
I make sure I take my breaks. I don't commit to anything I don't want to commit to. And again, and again, I've been successful in what I'm doing, so that affords you the opportunity to be able to sort of set your own terms a little bit more. And again, whether that's luck or hard work or combination of both, that's what that position that I'm in. So that was the first real big shift for me in my mental health journey, or how my thinking and the way that I'm viewing things and what's going on.
Yep.
So that was the first sort of catalyst. Any questions from that?
Any questions from that? Yeah, I do want to just ask one, actually, if that's okay, which is, when you were getting to that point of the burnout, when you were getting down to that point, that you were struggling, and you were in that office environment, lots of people around. Can you put some words around how you were feeling physically at that point? Because it's always useful for people to recognize some of those signs or those behaviors.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. Anxious.
Yep.
You would come in, and it was a roller coaster, because everything goes on monthly results, right? Every month is monthly results, bang, bang, bang. So sometimes it was euphoric if it was a good month. Sometimes it was really anxious, feeling sick in the stomach.
Yep.
What am I going to do? This is all on me. All these eyes are watching me. How am I going to get out of this? What am I going to do to be able to stop it? I remember one of my colleagues told me once, when you're down because you actually don't walk very fast. I used to be able to, I walk quite fast, and I always make a point. Ever since I was young, I think it was my dad or my nan or someone told me, when you're walking, make sure you look straight ahead. You don't look downcast, and you smile at people as they go past. So he said to me, when you're not in a good place, because your head's down and you're not walking around, and you don't, you just haven't got that good feeling. So those types of feelings was up and down all the time, and so and then so the physicality of that was, sometimes, like I said, sometimes euphoric, fantastic. It's a bit like a sugar rush,
Yeah.
like yay, bang, and then boom, down.
Yep.
So the dopamine must have been going up and down in my brain like crazy. And then after a while, if you weren't changing, if nothing was changing, you had to change something. So it was that again. What am I going to change? How am I going to change it? Who am I going to turn to for help? And again, because in my head, it was always, well, you've got to have the answers. So there was a reluctance to ask for help, because again, maybe it's this male thing or whatever it may be. Back in those days, it was like, you've got to have the answers. You're there. You're the leader. You're the one that should be doing it. So that can be a little bit crushing and a little bit hard to get up, or what, I'm going to stay here longer and try and figure it out. Or I'm going to have a drink now, or whatever that may be. But good question.
Question.
Now it's
go on.
Now it's a lot smoother.
Good.
Again, being in sales, you do have those up and down moments, but I don't go crazy celebrating when I win, and I don't beat myself up when I lose. It's just
sort of trying to find that balance, isn't it, in the flattening of because it is that I used to have that with sales. You'd celebrate, but you weren't allowed to celebrate for very long, because it was always where's the next one, and we need more. And always you're always on a bit of a hiding, aren't you? So it's it's a tricky one, but I do find it fascinating though, Stephen, because this thing about you give the words to how you felt is really important, because then people can sort of, that's how we empathize with other humans, when we can hear them say, this is how I felt, and it's not easy to go into those spaces, and it's hard to recover, but you did, and you come through. And what I like is that change that you've had. So since that event, and since you've gone into this sort of new way of thinking, so what do you do then to protect yourself? What's your sort of plan and your processes to look after you?
Yeah, good question. I think number one is you've always got to have something to look forward to.
Okay. Yep.
So for me, I always love to be able to plan going away, and it doesn't need to be great overseas holiday or any of that sort of stuff. Like where I am at this moment, I'm in the alpine country of Australia. So for me, I've been, it's that getting out of town, being able to just feel yourself, your shoulders relax, just being able to go, okay, I'm out of my normal environment, which is still a great environment, but it's there every day and it's always there. And being able to get away and do something different and getting away. So always making sure that you've got something to look forward to from that perspective, from getting away. Always making sure you've got something to look forward to where you surround yourself with your friends and family. So having things in the calendar where you go, because again, you're not getting on that hamster wheel where you go, okay, this is, oh yeah, I'm going to see these guys this weekend. We're going over for lunch. Yeah, that's really looking forward to that. They're great people. Because again, with age, you sort of tend to narrow down the people that really mean things to you. And that's just life everywhere. I think, when you're 20, you've got 400 friends, and maybe 5 of them are really close. And as you get a bit older, those 5 hopefully stay there, and maybe you make a few extras that are that are really, really, really like-minded. And I think by this time you sort of get to understand what your values are as a person, so you sort of gravitate towards those. So I think making sure you're having that. In our sort of, before we started the recording, I was telling you about my I've got 3 really, really close mates. 2 of them I've known since I was 6 years old, and they're still great mates today. Another one since we were 15. And one thing that we always do, and I've done this before I was married actually, is every year we go away together camping in the middle of nowhere. We now go fly fishing, so that's what we do. And we have about 4 or 5 days without any phones, without any reception, without any emails, without any family, and we just reconnect and just be mates. So that is a very, very important part of keeping myself mentally in the right place.
Amazing.
For my wife, it's exercise. She needs to be exercising on time because that's her thing. So for me, it's really important. And we may not see each other every weekend during the year. One of the guys Smitty, I play football with. So throughout winter, we see each other every weekend, and we see each other training. But one of the other guys, Gary's moved up north, and Ant lives not too far away, and we may not see each other for 3 or 4 months, but it doesn't matter. Because it's one of those connections. As soon as you get back together, it's banter, it's fun, it's knowing exactly who you are. We've all traveled together, we've backpacked together, we've done all those things, we've had life experiences growing up. It's really important for me to be able to get away and see the guys and just reconnect, and again just take some downtime, because then I'm a better person going back out into the world, and I'm nicer to the people that I love, and that's really important for me.
Wow, interesting. And so question that stems off of that, then, this is a really important one for the males amongst us, and you got your group of mates, you got your group of close friends. How much do you know about each other, really? Do you know everything about each other, or is there a lot of sort of that you wouldn't know?
I would say it's probably 95%, because everyone's got some sort of thing that they don't.
That's good. That's good.
Have. But we've been through marriages, divorces, sicknesses. All sorts of stuff together. And one of my mates is unfortunately just going through his marriage is sort of broken down now, and so we're all very close, checking in all the time. It's great. And again, it's a male thing. Some people are reluctant to share their feelings and all that sort of stuff. But we hug each other, tell each other we love them, we love each other. And we're here for you, and all that sort of stuff. Again, we find age gives you great hindsight, because they're the important things. They're the things that if you want to tell someone something like that, you tell them, because it takes no effort to tell someone that you love them. Especially if you mean it. Takes no effort at all, and And when someone says that to you, I'm sure you really appreciate it. So, yeah, it's really good. So I would say 95%. You know,
That's good.
they've all got their, yeah.
You know, because
I'm lucky. It's lucky.
Yeah, you are, you know, because not every male has that community with their friends, you know, and especially, you know, if you want to be sort of the macho male of, you know, I don't talk about emotions, I just want to, you know, and I'm not trying to stereotype, but you know what I mean? You get the sort of the context behind that, which is one of the biggest challenges, of course, is male suicide is very high, and, you know, and it's a big problem. And the reason is because men don't really talk about these things. And I just think it's fascinating, Stephen, that you know, you've come on here, you've talked about openly about things, you know, and having got to a point in your career where things were going difficult, and you know, but you do things to make that so it's not going to happen again, and that's so important. Doesn't mean things won't change in the future, but you've got that conscious awareness, which is so important.
And look, and I do credit a lot of that with my working with Flight Centre. So that you know, there was one side, but the other side was the personal development that they have in place is pretty amazing. You know, I was really fortunate to do a course. Both Kelly and I did it at the time, back in the probably late 90s. Now it was, and it was I would say it's a bit of a life-changing sort of course that we did. It was a thing called Free to Be Me, and it's by a couple called Barbara and Terry Tebow. And it was like a self-discovery type of course. So it introduced you to meditation, looking back on the way to view things, and the thing that I got out of it the most was to learn about acceptance. Now, and it took a little while to figure it out, but to learn about acceptance, especially when it comes to other people and other people's behaviors. So if there's someone who always annoys you or always aggravates you or just rubs you the wrong way, you know, part of this was to say, well, in their adult life, they're not likely to change because, you know, all your habits are pretty much formed by, you know, whatever they say, 5 or 6 years old. They're not likely to change. So they're not going to actually do something any different. Like, you're wanting them to do something different, but then 99% of the time not going to do it. Now, if you accept that that's going to happen, it doesn't mean you condone whatever behavior it is or whatever that may be. You know, that's a different conversation. But if you accept that they're going to actually behave or act in a certain way, then it gives you a choice. And then you've got the choice to say, well, am I going to get aggravated with that, or am I actually not going to let it bother me because I know that's what they were going to do in the first place, because they'd never do anything different. And that was like, for me, again, part of that whole time was like, okay, I've got to accept that this is happening, or this person's going to react in that way. Now I've got a bit of empowerment. I can make a choice about how I want to feel about the way that they're behaving towards me, rather than just reacting. So, you know, that was really good. And then about 3 or 4, maybe 3 years ago, I did another, you know, quite intensive course, and it was a bit more of a leadership, almost like an mini MBA type of course. And there was a lady on there, Rachel Miller, who I'd worked with in the past, who's now, again, she's got some podcasts as well. She talks about her journey from someone who nearly, you know, basically killed herself from working. She got really sick, to now being a self-help teacher, yoga, you know, spiritualism, all this sort of stuff. So she actually took part of this course over a period of 5 or 6 days. And again, just getting back to what she was teaching and about that self-awareness. And, you know, it's been a really, really cool thing to be able to do, because you take all these bits and pieces of stuff, and, you know, you apply them to your situations, and it sort of helps you, helps me to keep things in balance and in check.
Sounds like you've been on some training that you remember. You know, it's bizarre, isn't it? You tend to go on a lot of. I remember going on lots of training. I don't remember. I don't even remember who was hosting them. What the titles were. So it's good to take those snippets and to bring them into your sort of your mental toolkit in a lot of ways to make sure that you sort of manage that. Stephen, listen, we're at the the end of this. This is sort of
Wow,
flown past, believe it or not.
that's
We've been
gone very
talking.
fast.
Oh, seriously, that's the challenge that I've got with this, is trying to
Yeah.
truncate into, I think we've been 25, 26 minutes already. So
All right.
I just want to say a huge thank you for taking time out of your vacation as well, because you're on vacation, and taking this hour is, it's a
My pleasure,
valuable
mate.
time. But no, I do genuinely appreciate it, and I just really want to say a huge thank you to you. Any final words? Any thoughts?
Thank you. Thank you for bringing this awareness out. I think it's a wonderful thing that you're doing. The more people talk and get to understand each other, I think the better we can all be. It's been a real pleasure. And I hope that green tea keeps you going. And
Yeah.
you're on the home straight now, mate. You've nearly, you got the finishing line coming up. So
I
well done
know.
to you.
Got to keep it open.
Yeah. And just stay in touch.
Yeah, will do. Well, look after yourself, stay safe, take care. If anybody's listening and struggling with anything, know there are always people you can talk to. You can reach out and talk to somebody. Please do. If you are worried about something, find a mate or find somebody to call, or the Samaritans in the UK, of course, is the number, and there's lifeline numbers in Australia as well for anybody that's listening. But please do make sure, if you're worried about anything, if you're concerned, talk to somebody. It really is important. This conversation of mental health is such an important conversation, because we all have it. Sometimes we struggle. So, Stephen, it's been a
Well
pleasure,
said.
sir. I will catch you soon. You take
All
care and
right.
look after yourself.
Take
Cheers,
it easy,
mate.
Matty.